experiences, any peak experiences, any magical experiences, go ahead and share those with the partner. Okay? So let me just tell you a little bit about who I am. If your passion is to change people's lives or influence other people, whether you're a facilitator, a healer, a coach, speaker, trainer, parent, grandparent, then you're my favorite client. I have over 40 years experience immersing myself in over 30 of the most powerful cutting-edge transformational technologies. So, Gestalt, primal, transactional analysis, hypnosis, NLP, Native American, name it, I've probably done it, okay? Now, I've coached network marketers from $200,000 a year to $70,000, $80,000 a month. I've coached millionaires from $1 million a year to $7, $8 million a year. But my favorite success stories are the ones that really affect people on a deep level. So my favorite success story is Ron McMillan and Joseph Grenny, who, when they took my retreat called The Awakening, they were so inspired by the last day, which is about the art and science of higher purpose, that they basically went out and took Muhammad Yunus's work in India about microloans, and they made it go international. And so at this point, they've helped over 12 million people come out of poverty through microloans. That's the kind of stories that really touch me. So I'm going to start off with a couple of mystical, magical stories, and then I'm going to share some content about this course that's coming up called Magical Realms of the Sacred Self. If, by the way, if you haven't filled out that sign-up sheet, please do so. And by the way, anybody who signs up is going to have the option of receiving 25 plus 3 to 7 minute videos, which are some of the highlights of our work. So you'll have the option, you don't have to, it's up to you. So the heart of my work is called The Awakening. It's a retreat. And it fascinates me. Well, first I'll tell about my breakthrough, and then I'll tell you about that. Kim, do me a favor, and don't let me forget to talk about the technology that Mel Wasserman gave me. Okay? In my first awakening at Sea Foundation with my mentor, Mel Wasserman, I had an experience that completely changed my reality, my world. It was in the middle of the night. We used to go all night long in those days. And I remembered a moment that when I was a child where, actually I had forgotten about this until this moment, where I let the bullies push around my brother. And I was 5 years old, and they started picking on my sister and her friend. And then Steve got in the middle and said, "Stop it, leave her alone." And they were like, "What are you doing?" And then Steve realizes he's in the line of fire, so he gets paralyzed. So they slap him and say, "Move." Nothing. Slap him again, he's just paralyzed. They keep slapping. Every time he slaps him, we're dying. And Lori turns to me, she goes, "Gary, help him, he's your brother." Well, 5-year-old Gary's like, "You help him, he's your brother." So I remember this moment in the middle of the night, and it was the moment, and by the way, we all have one, when I spiritually and emotionally died. When I made it up that I'm not good enough, I'm different, I can't even help my own brother, I'm weak, all that stuff. We all know the story. Well, they had me relive that moment in such a way that I could pop the bubble of reality that we all create called "I'm not good enough," or whatever your version is. Abandoned, unlovable, insignificant, invisible, whatever. We all create a bubble of reality. Well, with this technology that Mel Wasserman gave me over 40 years ago, it literally popped that bubble of reality. When I got done doing the process that they gave me, I sat back in my chair and I could feel all the tension in my body which was all the years of trying to be okay, trying to be good enough, trying to make it work, trying, and it was like an armor in my body. And all of a sudden, something snapped, and I just let go. And the moment I let go, the tension left my body, and something came from the earth and lifted me, and I got higher and 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 higher. And when that bubble pops, whatever your story is, when that bubble pops, in that moment I knew exactly what I had been searching for my entire life. And I knew that I was now filled to the brim with it. And I knew that I was free. And I knew that people out here in the real world don't have a clue what that experience is like. Total freedom. And what I saw was my true self. My sacred self, my highest self, my God self, whatever you want to call it. I saw my true divinity. And I couldn't stop crying. I was so moved. My first thought was, thank you. My second thought was, please don't ever leave me. And my third thought was, oh my goodness, if I could share this with people. Okay, I'll share one more set of stories, then I'll do some content. Many years ago, my ex-wife was getting into some energy work, learning all about chakras and energy work and all that from Ellie, the gal who had helped create the Cycling Burkick Institute, and she was really doing some good stuff. And she came to me one day during an awakening, a retreat, during the connected breath process, and she said, there were these two, now mind you, Megan, my ex-wife, was raised completely without religion. You know, a home that just had no religion. And she said, there were these two huge beings that came into space, and I don't know what they were, but they felt to me like archangels. And I said, what are you doing here? And they said, we're from the council. And she said, they said, we're here to designate whether or not this is a sacred work. So at some point, I'm doing a little kind of ceremony that I do at every connected breath in the center of the room, and they shoot up these two energy things, and then it forms a golden ball of energy, and it rains golden light, and then they take off. So she said she figured we passed the test. Well, I asked her, I said, what council? She said, well, I felt like I knew when they told me, but now I can't really tell you. I'm sorry. So, well, if they ever come back, would you please do me a big favor and just ask them? I'm curious, what council? So the next awakening, same thing. They come back and they tell her, we're from Michael's council. Michael is in charge of the earth, and his council is in charge of the healing at this particular time, which is a healing of the heart. So years later, well, it's so cute because at the next awakening, she says, Gary, just stand here and get centered. During the same process, connected breath, just stand here, right? And all of a sudden, somebody starts, I close my eyes, and someone starts coming towards me, and I assume it's Michael. But my heart starts palpitating. At that point, I wasn't very used to this kind of stuff. And my heart starts palpitating, and so Michael does this, literally. He goes, like that. And I cracked up, and I calmed down, and he comes up next to me, and he goes, Gary, I'm just like you. He put his hands on my heart and my back, and he just, like that, and all of a sudden this white light shot out of my feet and my arms and went around the whole planet. And then he stood behind me and started calling out names, mostly in other languages, and then and I couldn't tell what he was doing. I just felt like, even though I was standing, I felt like standing in a way I had never stood before. And I asked Megan when it was over, what did he do when he got behind me? She goes, he pulled a good sword made out of golden light and he stuck it in your body. So I thought, I'm so cool. I have a sword made out of golden light, you know? And I thought it was great until I realized that the next 4 years is now what I affectionately call my 4 years of hell. He was buoying me up, strengthening me. Now, years later, I go to this phenomenal angel reader named Chantel. And Megan keeps saying, you got to go see her, you got to go see her. And So finally I can schedule some time to go see her. It's like the day before the awakening, the day before the retreat. And I walk in, and you know, with anybody who's intuitive, I don't give them much information until I see, you know, what they got. So she looks at me, we sit down, she goes, do you know that Michael's your archangel? And I said, that's not bad. And then she goes, do you know that he put a sword made out of golden light inside your body? I went, that's pretty good. So then she takes me through a process, and at one point, I have two new angels, Uriel and Shamuel, and Uriel wants to get me a message, because I've been wrestling with a demon that had come back to haunt me. And he looked at, through Chantel, he looks at me and he goes, it's done. And I started crying and seeing visions of the future. And Chantel was literally saying the visions I was seeing in my mind's eye. And then Michael comes in and says, it's time to use the sword now. So he says, take it out of your body and put it in a sheath on one side or the other. I did that. And he says, when you want to do a workshop, you take the sword out, you hold it up to the light, you say, I declare this sword for the light. You tap the earth 3 times, and then you do the 4 corners of the room, the 4 directions of the room, and that will keep the negative energies out and help us magnify what you're trying to accomplish. He said when you're working with a human being, what you want to do is you want to do the same process, only you want to cut the cords below their feet. Because that's how human beings stay attached to their barriers. So the awakening was the next day, and I looked at Chantel and I said, I hope this doesn't scare you, but you know, this is your awakening. She goes, yeah, I get it. You know, so she's in the next awakening. Right? And it's so cute because I like to try spiritual tools out because sometimes you don't see any difference. But I wanted to see if I could tell there was something different going on. So the first breakthrough in front of the room, you know, I'm working with her and she's reliving something and doing some reprogramming and all that. And so I step offside where nobody can see me. I do my little ceremony. I come back in, and as subtle as I can, I just kind of cut the cords below her feet. And I'm standing behind her so she can't see me. And she instantly, like, explodes into this huge healing. Phenomenal. So today when I do the awakening, before everybody gets ready to do their breakthroughs, we do a ceremony, and I'll cut the cords for everybody before they do their breakthrough. And I want to say this about the awakening, about the retreat. Mel Wasserman gave me this phenomenal technology over 40 years ago. And when I left CEDU, I lived there for 3 years, and when I left CEDU, I thought that at some point I would find the next level up, you know, the next great breakthrough, cutting-edge technology. And so I kept doing AST and hypnosis and everything you can imagine, NLP and rapid eye, and, you know. And I've done everything. And what blows my mind is that to this day, 40 some odd years later, I have never found another technology that even comes close to the power of the breakthrough that Mel Wasserman gave me that we now do at the awakening. Like, when I do the first breakthrough in front of the room after a day and a half of kind of building safety and getting everybody really safe, I'll do the breakthrough in front of the room, the first one as a demonstration before everybody goes to small groups. And, you know, I'd say, what do you want to work on? And they go, money or love life or whatever. And within 20, 25 minutes, there's not a dry eye in the house. Everybody's so moved and touched and all that. But everybody in that room is crystal clear that that person's life will never be the same. It's that obvious. So I wanted to mention that. The art of manifestation. Okay, so you all seen The Secret, right? Anybody here do the Abraham Hicks material or Your Wish is Your Command by Kevin Trudeau or that kind of stuff? Anyway, so one day I'm doing a seminar called The Sixth Day, and I'm going to be in the communications area, and they put me on the phones, and so I'm sitting in front of 5 phones, and the facilitator comes over and says, Gary, what are you working on? Now this is years ago. And I said, well, I'd like to be more centered, more present, more grounded, more in my body, you know, like that. He goes, okay, good. Now tell me what your fear is. I said, well, I see 5 phones sitting there. And, you know, if they all light up one at a time, I'm sure I can handle it. But, I mean, what if they all light up at once? What do I do? He goes, okay, good. Let me just tell you what you just told me. What you just told me is that when you're centered, the calls will come in one at a time. When you get triggered or upset and uncentered, the calls are going to come in all at once. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, whoa, wait. What do I have to do with people calling in from New York or LA or Kansas? I don't have any... He goes, he just smiled. He said, just watch. Just watch. Well, by the end of the second day, I was freaked. I had no idea that my state of being, my vibration, actually determined anything good or bad that was coming to me. Okay. Until you can relax, you cannot receive. To whatever degree you spend your day in fear, scarcity, survival, you are pushing, trying, straining. You create effort, struggle, burden, stress, strain, and overwhelm. Until you learn to get out of fear and into love and play when you are triggered, when you are upset, when you're ready to rip their face off. You are doomed to spend your whole life in stress with little results. All of the pushing, stressing, and straining is simply a child inside saying, I'm not bad. How would you like to work 1/3 less than you're working now and accomplish 1/3 more than you're accomplishing now? I want you to know that's one of the tools we teach people in my workshops. And it all has to do with learning. See, human beings spend their time in one of three states. They're always in one of these three states. Resist, succumb, or choose. The first two have no satisfaction in them at all. The third one is where satisfaction lives. Fulfillment, satisfaction, joy. That's where they live. And one of the great tools we teach people so they can get out of resistance, out of procrastination, all of that. So cute. You know, years ago I found out I could take I told you about the millionaire and all that stuff, and I thought, instead of charging my top hourly rate, I should have taken a percentage, of the increase, So I started doing that. And it fascinates me. Most of the time, I don't take anybody on. Not everybody's, can make a lot of money or that kind of thing. But for the people who are good at that kind of thing, when I take them on as a percentage client, it fascinates me that one of the greatest tools I teach them how to really significantly increase their income is how to embrace the brat within them. When they're procrastinating, when they're going through the motions, when they're resisting, whatever, I teach them how to really take that little boy or girl inside of them and how to really embrace it and voice all that resistance. You can't make me pay the bills. I'm not going to take out the garbage. I'm not going to have that conversation that's scary. And I teach them how to embrace the brat within. And what that does is get them beyond that energy and into choosing. When you're truly in choosing, you are wholehearted. You are effective. When you're not choosing, you pull your intention out. So you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, but the way Werner Erhard said it is, when you pull your intention out, not only do you not do what works, but even the stuff that always works stops working. Because the lights are on and nobody's home. Okay. One last story. Ron McMillan was the highest rated and best facilitator at Stephen R. Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? He actually helped him build the organization. And when he met me, he did this relationships course, and he loved it, and he came up to me and said, I want to do the awakening, but I'll only do it under one condition. I said, what? Anything. And he literally grabbed my lapels like this, like he was making a point, right? He said, I'll do it if you promise me that you will give me every ounce of feedback and coaching and you won't hold back. Now, this is 1980-something, and Covey was charging $9,000 a day for him as a presenter. This is a guy who's at the top of his field. Now, doesn't it make sense that a guy at the top of his field would not be open to feedback? He would be demanding feedback, right? So, he has this phenomenal breakthrough. He was the first person in the awakening who started accessing his ancestors. Like at one moment, he's kind of in some tears, and I call his name, and he goes, "I'm not Ron, I'm Howard." He was his dad. And then a little while later, "I'm not Howard, I'm Ephraim." And he kept going through the different ancestors, and there was this pattern. By the way, you all have patterns based on your bloodline. At the end, I'll try to do a couple of soul readings, and I'll tell you a little bit about your ancestors. Anyway, so Ron gets the pattern that the men would always be wimpy, the women would always be righteous and expecting, and the men would sell out and basically live their lives selling out until it was too late. They'd always die early. And so Ron's question to the person role-playing his father was, "Dad, if you put up with Mom's guff and I want to go play, does that mean I'm bad?" And his son happened to be in this awakening with him, his young son. So I had his son ask him the same question after he got the answer from his dad. And Ron's like, "No, you learn how to play," and like that, right? Well, his dad had been in a stupor for about a year. And when Ron was done the awakening, his dad woke up out of the stupor and said, "I've never seen Ron's house, I want to go see his house." So Ron understands he's supposed to tell him the story. And he gets it that maybe his dad has been kind of hanging on in the physical realm until he could hear the story and get the healing while he was in the physical realm. So Ron tells him the whole story. His dad really gets it. Okay? And a week later he died. And it really confirmed for Ron that he was waiting till he could hear the healing. And the next week, Ron's giving a presentation for AT&T. The guy in charge of 40,000 people's there. And halfway through the second day, he stands up and goes, "Ron, look, you're a great guy, and I know you have great intentions, but I've been listening for a day and a half, and I just feel like this content isn't going to fit in our culture." And Ron's pattern that he discovered at the awakening was that because he was LDS in a non-LDS neighborhood as a kid and got teased and laughed at for being goody two-shoes and all that stuff, he would basically, where he would stop himself is when people started to imply that he was good, he would apologize for being good. Ron is like the most Christ-like guy I've ever met. You know what I mean? And of course, the emotional black hole is the exact opposite of whatever you are. If your essence, your soul is freedom, your black hole is caged and, all that stuff. So Ron is Christ-like. His doubt, his fear is, "I'm bad." Right? So I taught him a technique called how to melt your favorite jerk, which we do in the relationship course. How to disarm verbal attackers. How to take verbal attackers from verbal monsters to verbal teddy bears within a matter of minutes. So he stands up. He goes over to the guy from AT&T. He puts his hands on his shoulders. He uses this technique called how to melt your favorite jerk, and the guy completely melts. And he apologizes to the group, and he says, "I hope everybody gets behind this program." And to this day, he's the strongest supporter of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So Ron walks out with a $6.5 million contract because in the physical realm, skills make all the difference. Tools make all the difference. Okay, now let me tell you about Magical Realms of the Sacred Self. It's a workshop coming up next. Did everybody get one of those inserts that has the dates and the times and all that stuff on it? Will we grab some, if we have any extras, let's make sure if somebody didn't get one that they have one. That lady was handing them out to everybody. I don't know where she put them. She might have put them on the table. So, years ago I'm doing this, I'm camping with some friends in the mountains, and I wanted to go off by myself and do a process because there was a a next level coming up for me, and I always get terrified of next levels. And so I was doing this process, and somebody said, talked about turning things over to God, and I thought, that's interesting, I should try that. So I thought, I'll turn this issue over to God. You know, I did kind of a ceremony, some Native American stuff, and yeah, anybody who doesn't have this, would you please raise your hand so she can give you one? This is that insert for the next workshop coming up. By the way, when the talk is over, I'm going to make some special offers. So I did the ceremony, and I noticed that when I got done turning this thing over to God, I felt pretty high. I thought, this is cool, I'm going to try more. So I turned some more stuff over to God, and I got higher. And then turned some more stuff over to God, and I got higher. And by the time I was done, I turned everything over to God, and I was blissed out of my mind. I was literally in a different domain. I don't know how to describe it. Anybody here ever have an experience that is so out of the box that it's like you cannot put words in this? Something in you knows that you're like in heaven, you know? And so I get back to the fire, and my friends can't shut me up because I'm on fire. I'm on a roll. I'm like, the moon! Oh! I see it now! And I'm crying, thank you, God! And I just keep going. Well, after, I don't know, 45 minutes or so, and they're just having fun watching me, checking me out. and after about 45 minutes, it suddenly occurred to me I'm doing the same 4 things over and over and over and over again. And I went, oh, lightning bolt. This is not 4 things that are just a reflection or an expression of a very high experience. These 4 steps are vehicle to get you to the higher states of being. I just got it. Like, wow. Kind of makes sense God would give me that when I turned everything over again. Anyway, so I wanted to try it out. So I would get with people, friends I know, and I found out that you have to do it with people that are present, because most people can't be present past the salad, but you know. You got to find people who can look in your eyes and look back and be with you and all that stuff. And then we would do it all night long, and right about 1 in the morning, some really magical stuff was happening. So we said, we got to do it all day long. Let's do a Saturday. And time after time after time after time after time, I would get to these highest states of being. And it blew my mind. So that's what this workshop is about. This workshop is about learning how to do these 4 steps, and by focusing on what makes your heart sing the most, by focusing on your favorite music, on your favorite art, on your favorite books, on your favorite movies, your heroes, on whatever it makes your heart sing the most, by learning how to focus on what makes your heart sing the most, you will find that you go higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. So, let me see if I can, got to make some tough choices here. In this workshop, you're going to learn that if you can learn how to be slowed down and centered enough, you can get to a place of the total absence of any trying within yourself. That place is called absolute zero. That's what I call it. And absolute zero is the point of most direct contact with Spirit. Absolute zero is the point of most direct contact with Spirit. In this place, we are in the lap of God. We are in the place of total receptivity, the place of total receiving. We are in total humility, which is the same as total power. In this place, all things come to you. It's like being showered in blessings. In this place, one realizes that there is no effort, no struggle, no burden. All things come. All thoughts, all feelings, all dreams and visions, all purposes and missions, all strategies, all guidance, all decisions. You just sit back and receive the good news, and you go for the ride. It's constant Christmas. When you can land there. This course is about teaching you how to land there. How to create your own peak experiences instead of just waiting for life to hand them to you once in a blue moon. It's the place that the greatest artists, musicians, architects, athletes have accessed in their greatest moments of creation. And in order to do that, you have to learn how to slow down on even a deeper level. Now, I'm going to show you how to have Spirit speak through you. In the workshops, this takes about an hour. I'm going to give you the 5-minute version of it. Okay? When Spirit speaks through you, what speaks through you moves mountains. When Spirit speaks through you, what moves through you will heal, inspire, and lift people. When Spirit speaks through you, what speaks through you will create your dreams, your visions, and your aspirations. So, step 1 is you have to stand or sit in your power. Let me show you what standing in your power does not look like. That's not standing in your power. Standing in your power is standing as if I count, as if I matter. You stand as powerfully as you can, or sit as powerfully as you can. It's a little distinction, and you can get there by imagining how would your greatest hero sit or stand, and then do that, replicate that. It's not easy. The next thing you do is you have to get centered. You have to get slowed down. Slowed down, and when you're as slow as you can get, because you can't be receptive until you slow down. Until you're centered and slowed down, your dial is off the radio station. You can't pick up the signal from Spirit. You have to slow down, get centered. The third step is you have to hold a vision. You have to decide which dream or vision is this conversation, communication, phone calls to help my business. What is it going to be about? I've trained 200 salespeople at a time, and I've increased numbers significantly by simply having them put their dreams and visions on a 3x5 card and convincing them that they should not pick up the phone until they decide which 3x5 card is that call going to be about. Am I going to make these calls as if that dream depends on it? I don't have time now, but in the workshops I actually do a thing where I have you try to enroll each other into your thing, whatever it is. And then I have the person watching give a description of what their facial expression is like and their countenance and how they felt, at what level they felt enrolled. And then I do different things like doing it as if your dream depends on it, or doing it as if your highest purpose depends on it. And the feedback is phenomenal. Their countenance changed. Their enthusiasm, everything changed, and I was finally enrolled. I'm not even interested in this, but I found myself wanting to be a part of it. You see what I'm saying? So the third step is hold a vision. Spirit will speak through you whenever you hold a vision and you speak with full intent. The fourth step is to speak with full intent. And again, it's not like this. I don't know if you've got time right now, and I probably don't want to hear this, but I just thought maybe I could say one or two things, you know. You're speaking as if you intend for them to get it. Tell me your name.
Melanie.
Melanie. Melanie. Okay, good. Melanie, let me tell you what I love about your spirit. Okay? Can I?
Please.
Great. Okay, good. Your spirit is so huge. You're like this spiritual feminine warrior. Your light is so bright, so shining that it's like those movie theater lights that go up in the air during a premiere, you know? Only it's pointed at me. You know what I mean? Blinding. Okay? And now I'm not going to go into ancestors. If you want to talk to me afterwards, I'll do it privately. Okay, acknowledge her. Raise your hand if you want me to do something similar that I just did to her, and I'll give a couple of people soul readings. Okay, get them up high, get them up high. Okay, okay, good. You there? Okay, what's your name?
Thank you.
What is it?
Deborah.
Deborah. Thank you, Deborah. Okay. Deborah, you're what I call an old soul, an ancient spirit. You have a direct connection to God. You've got like a red telephone to God, you know. And you have a deep sense of family and loyalty. Like if I was going into battle, I'd want you next to me because you'd have my back. Like you'd never give up on me. And in that realm, in the spirit realm, you were such a teacher, such a visionary, that you wanted to pick a family and bloodline that would wound you in the ways that would confront that. Like that would make you feel like maybe my opinion doesn't count or it doesn't matter, or maybe I have to stay in the shadows, or that kind of thing. People pick the family depending on how they want to magnify the opposite of what they are. If they're the essence of freedom, they want a family that's all about cages and restrictions and rules and anything but free, right? If you're the essence of unconditional love in that realm, you pick a family that's anything but unconditional love, righteous and prejudice and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Okay, so that's why you picked the family that you did. Great, acknowledge her. Good. Somebody else. Okay, Ingrid. Your essence is joy. You're like singing and dancing and long silky gowns and come on, let's go, let's have some fun, all that stuff. And freedom is also very big for you. Getting out of bounds and all that kind of stuff. Being free, full self-expression. And so what you did was you picked a family that would be very tight, very constricted, and sort of set up all these boxes and things to make you feel like you had to stay in the box, and that it wasn't okay to really express as fully as you deserve. And you've done a lot of good work in the last few years, but you're about to jump off of a cliff. And the new life is going to make the old life look like small potatoes. Acknowledge. See, right here. What's your name?
Chantal.
Chantel. You also have joy as your essence. And you also have a lot of aliveness and vitality and enthusiasm and excitement. And your celebration is how much you know God or Spirit on a really deep level. You're very sensitive, very intuitive. And the reason you picked the family you did was because you wanted a family that would make you feel like you had to walk on eggs and be careful and watch out. And you're gonna get in trouble. And so you kind of started to develop that habit of kind of shrinking when things got uncomfortable, got tough. And so that's what you're going to be working on for a while, is learning how to step up, show up, be more assertive, take command. Don't put up with it. I want to tell everybody a principle. I want you to take this home with you. Until you can stop putting up with what you are currently putting up with, you cannot rise to higher ground. Where what you really want is sitting there waiting for you on a silver platter. Acknowledge her. Okay, I'll do one more and then I'll, let's look and see here. What's your name?
Judy.
Judy.
Yeah.
Judy.
Gary, sorry, you actually have like 8 more minutes.
Okay, looks like I have 4, but I'll keep an eye on it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. You're a very sensitive spirit, very tender, very delicate, very deep-hearted, deep, deep, deep feelings. You're very empathetic. Like, somebody gets their feelings hurt in a room full of people, you're the first one to know it. That's why when you were growing up, most of your friends, you were like the counselor to most of your friends and all that kind of stuff, And because in that realm you're so powerful, like if I showed you a picture of what you look like in that realm, you wouldn't even believe me. Like, no, that can't be me. Powerful, powerful woman. trying to think of a powerful woman. For men, it would be like Patton or King in Lord of the Rings. Oh, Angelina Jolie. Have you ever seen Salt or Tomb Raider? Great, that's what you're like in the spirit realm, okay? But you came to a family knowing that that family would make you feel like a lightweight. Like, blown aside and, like who cares, all that stuff, right? And part of that was because you knew that as you would transcend those qualities, that you would become a truly great healer, facilitator, coach, teacher, whatever. Not just good. I want you to hear this, okay? Not just good. Great. Okay? Acknowledge. Okay, one more. What's your name? Trish. Trish. Okay, Trish. You have what's called a voracious spirit. The great thing about a voracious spirit is that, in our culture, wanting is not looked upon as a strength, but it is a truly amazing strength. Huge advantage. You have that. You have a voracious spirit that wants everything. You want it all. You want it for everybody, and you want it right now. Right? And so, what you did was you found a family and a bloodline that would make you feel like you couldn't want as big as you did. Like you had to tone it down and stay suppressed, and you want this big, and that's what they made you feel like. And the truth is, when your level to express your wantingness matches how big your wantingness is, your life will change completely. You won't even recognize your money or your love life or anything. Acknowledge. Okay, do me a favor. Just take a partner and for 60 seconds, do what I just did for you with your partner. Take a guess as to what their biggest strengths are. Just take wild guesses. You look like you could be this or that or that. Don't worry about the spirit realm stuff. Just tell them their greatest strength.
You there? You're like speechless.
Time to come up with something.
How do you? You're overthinking, you doubt yourself. That's what you're saying.
Whatever.
30 seconds.
Huge reserve. Let the floodgate open.
Okay, wrap it up.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Okay. The flyer you have in your hand is for Magical Realms of the Sacred Self. As you can see, it's coming up in a couple of weeks. Okay, that's a $500 course. Now, for being in this thing today, I'm going to make you some special offers. The first, thank you. There's going to be a special offer for the first 5 people And the next 5 are going to get it for the price of a deposit. In other words, instead of paying $500, you're going to pay $150. That's for 2 evenings, an afternoon, and a full day. Okay? Now, the way you do that is you sign up outside, give them all your information, you like us on Facebook, you have to attend and complete the entire course. Okay? That's why you want to look at the dates and make sure you can do that. Okay? Now, so those are the second 5. The first 5 to get to the table are going to get it for free. You pay a deposit, and when the course is over, you get your deposit back. Okay? So, have a great day,
It's a race.
and get to the table if you want to see the course. LA,
Yes, you have to.
That's right.